I've made it a bad habit to film video at like midnight, but it's also Thursday. Well, Thursday morning, midnight, Wednesday at night, whatever. So we fixed one thing. Also, please ignore my Nelly Band-Aid. It is there because I keep accidentally burning myself on the face. I love you and I need you. Really, I love you. I do. Hi, it's Kendall here. If you're new already, wow. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're not new around here, what is up, home skillet biscuit? And happy Saturday. If you don't know what Saturday is when I do a little something on my channel called Bad Movies and a Beat. And sometimes I do other stuff these days, like watch reality television. But this week it's Bad Movies and a Beat, baby. The series on my channel where I talk about bad movies while putting my makeup on, but my makeup's already on because we're talking about the sequel to Say Yes. And I didn't do my makeup that video either because what the is going on?
Editing Kenny, adding links to that video. I literally did my makeup in that video. I don't know what I'm talking about.
So in order to give it all of the emotional bandwidth that I have, makeup's already on, baby. I really like these lashes. I hate supporting the devil, Amazon, but they have lashes for really cheap, man. And I like it's also this wig is from Amazon. A lot of you guys have been asking me like, where's the wig from? Amazon. Like people have been complimenting my lashes a lot recently, and they're all Amazon lashes, cluster lashes, like strip lashes. They're good. Anyway, okay, so to stop myself from rambling, let's send it over to ad roll, Kenny. Thank you. Hello everyone, this is Ad Roll Kenny, and today's video is sponsored by Care of. Care of provides personalized vitamins and supplements for your personal needs. You go on there, take a quiz, you say what you're interested in, and before you know it, you have personalized vitamin packs that are curated just for you and what you want. They come in little personalized compostable packets. It says hi Kendall, and sometimes they'll have like fun facts, little inspirational quotes and stuff on it. This one tickled me, so I wanted to read this one in particular. A cat named Stubbs was the honorary mayor of Talkeetna, Alaska for 19 years. Follow your dreams. Even cats can be mayors. And one thing about the US government, it has shown us that you don't have to be particularly qualified to hold office. So reach for the stars, I guess. My personalized pack has fish oil for brain health, heart health, all that. I eat a lot of fish, but it doesn't hurt to supplement that as well. Multivitamins, because you got to fill in those nutrition gaps in your diet. Some iron, good for energy, especially during that wonderful time of the month. And rhodiola to help support energy and stress relief. I take them all at the same time. You probably shouldn't. Bottoms up for me. I also use their vanilla protein powder. I just baked some protein muffins. I like to do those every once in a while. I use them as a flavoring agent as well as just to put protein in a baked good. You can also put it in smoothies, put it in yogurt. I saw this and I was like, I'm gonna have to try that. I haven't tried it yet. Put a little bit of protein powder in the milk of your cereal. I just find that vanilla protein powder is a great staple to have. And because these get shipped out monthly, you will always have it on you. So you can make a habit of taking your vitamins and taking care of yourself. If you would like to check out Care of, feel free to check them out using the link down below or this here QR code. And use my code KennieJD50 for 50% off your first order at Care of. Big thanks again to Care of for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get on to the debauchery. No matter what I do, oh, all I think about is you. Oh. I think about you. She's like, I want to go to bed. Please put me back in my bed. Let me go, human. All right. Anyway, so last week we talked about the first 7 episodes of not the Ultimatum, the other one. Love is Blind, season 5. And I was going to do whatever the ending of the season was, but as of filming, the final episode and the reunion aren't out yet, so I'll just do that next week. But before that, we did a Good Movies and a Glam on Talk to Me, which is a very good movie. Yes, if you would like to see my last movie relationship video, that will be linked up above or will be in the Bad Movies and a Beat playlist, even though it's a good movie because I put all the movies I talk about in the Bad Movies and a Beat playlist. But there's also a Good Movies and a Glam playlist as well, if you want movie recommendations of good movies. But yes, today we're returning to what is unfortunately a sequel to one of the most batshit movies I've ever seen. I made a video on it several months back, which will be linked down below as well if you would like to be privy of the first half of this absolutely asinine idea of film. That movie was called Say Yes, indie gay movie about a woman dying of cancer who coerces her husband and her twin brother into a relationship so that they will be together when she dies. It works. They end the movie together after feverishly trying to gaslight the audience to believe that the issue with this movie is that one of the main characters is struggling with internalized homophobia, and that's the reason why he feels uncomfortable f***ing his dead wife's brother. So imagine my shock a few months ago when I saw a trailer for the upcoming sequel from writer-director Stuart Wade called Baby Steps. That will be the story of the couple deciding whether or not they want to have kids with the deceased wife's eggs. So this story is them deciding whether or not they would like to raise children together. And rest assured, this movie gets very, very, very weird. Every time I see a particularly asinine movie, there's a part of me that is split. Like a part of me that's very sad and disappointed that I have to be the person to relay this information to you. But there's also a sizable part of me that just has just enough like misanthropic joy to unleash whatever I had to watch on the rest of y'all. And as always, this is an exercise in that little bit of sadism, I feel. If you hear whining, it's Russet saying, "Can we please go to bed?" She's like, "Oh my God, I don't want to sleep in here. Can we please go to bed?" We will after mommy's done. This movie is very weird, as you'd expect from a sequel of this magnitude. Oddly dated in kind of the conversations that are being had around sexuality and gender. It feels like I'm watching Intro to Bisexual from 2003. It very much so feels like an older white gay man that hates himself made a movie. It feels very, I'm not like the other gays. I'm not feminine. I don't watch Drag Race. I don't perform gayness or bisexuality in whatever way is very stereotypically understood. It's very stupid and additionally taxing to this already arduous experience of watching the sequel to Say Yes. Also, in many ways, very bad logistically and fundamentally as a movie. It has porno lighting. They only have one mic at a time. And they don't bother getting another one at any point in the rest of this movie. It's an incredibly convoluted, dumbass story that kind of feels like 4 episodes of a miniseries just put together, and somehow feels both incredibly long and not long enough to get to the point either, despite the movie being an hour and a half. But again, being that I've been subjected, so will you. So we're going to talk about Baby Steps 2023. So this movie begins with our main characters. If you recall, it's Beau, who was married to Lily, who passed away in the first movie, and Caden, who is, according to canon, Lily's twin brother. Watch the first video. I don't feel like explaining that. But a year has passed since they've gotten together. Much has changed. Namely, Caden's gone platinum blonde. It's not a bad switch up. Personally, I much prefer her. The black hair, but you know, we switch it up. But yes, it's a year since they've gotten together. And apparently that's a bit of a shock to the both of them, which is kind of funny. Come on, Bubba. Come on. Come lay in the bed. Am I going to have to make you go to sleep? I will swaddle you. I am a mother. Now, it's been a year since they've gotten together, which is the shock to both of them. And now they're working through their issues of their relationship that exists completely independent of this weird semi-incestuous, arguably incestuous relationship they fell into because of their collective mourning of their very weird beloved Lily. But hey, grief is a motherfucker. Now, because that awful bitch Lily can't be overshadowed even in death, here a year later they receive a letter, basically a bill for eggs that she had saved at a fertility clinic that they knew nothing about. She tells them that, hey, this is up to you guys to decide whether or not you want to continue paying to have the eggs there, or if you want to not do it. I've always wanted to have a child, and if I'm not able to do so, it does bring me some joy, the thought of you, Bo, being able to have a child that's both ours. So this puts the men in a position that they never really considered before, which is whether or not they want to have kids at all, and then also together. Again, they've been dating for a year, and it would seem that they are still in a place of a lot of questioning. They don't know what to call each other, if they call each other partner or boyfriend. Bo is still trying to figure out whether or not he identifies as gay or bi. What do those labels mean to him? How does he perform, quote unquote, in the world? And now you add on top of that this incredibly strange scenario in which they want to raise a child together, one of them being the twin brother of the person whose eggs they will be using, and he's also her husband. It's a lot. Not to mention that Caden has a lot of fear around commitment in general. Him not knowing whether or not he would be a good father, whether or not he should have kids, whether or not he's too selfish to have kids, whether or not he can perform motherly roles, because by proxy Bo would be the father because he's the breadwinner. And so the beginning of the movie is largely just them having the same conversations over and over and over again, whether or not they want to have kids. They both are unsure, then one is unsure, then the other is unsure. And this like regurgitation of the same questions over and over and over again stops there from being a plot. It's incredibly tedious, honestly. Honestly, this entire movie is pretty tedious. All you need to know is there's a lot of questioning about commitment. Does that commitment that they have for each other create a stable enough environment to raise children? Now, like I said, this movie is weirdly throwback, nostalgic in a horrible way, because there's a lot of these kind of like 2000 level conversations around sex and gender. There's a lot of people that seemingly have never met a bisexual. Take, for instance, when Bo meets Caden's friends for the first time. The friends have always known Caden to be a ladies' man, the most popular among them. So for him to show up and say that he's dating a man, despite him telling his friends that he was bisexual when they were graduating college or something, they genuinely didn't believe him, because it's like, I know you didn't mean it. Like, who among us hasn't gotten head from a straight guy when we were really drunk? But even the gay ones act as if they've never heard of a bisexual man before as well. It's very strange. They also have this very interesting like unicorn amazement around their relationship, as if it's something bred straight out of yaoi fantasy novels.
Alex has told me the whole story. I think it's really hot. I mean, not the part about Lily dying. That was terrible, obviously.
But along the way of trying to figure out what parenthood means to them, what it would look like between them, whether or not they want to do it, they end up deciding to go to an LGBTQ parenting meeting to learn more about it, to prepare. And this is, again, another situation in which they take the time to really distinguish, particularly Bo isn't one of those RuPaul drag queen gays, and instead touts himself as respectfully homosexual. They are respectable, burger grilling, beer chugging gays. Good American gays, the good gays, the ones that uphold gender norms based off of income, the way God intended. And again, the beginning of this movie is largely just them going back and forth about whether or not they're ready for kids. At this point, it would seem that Caden is the one that's struggling the most because he has all these aversions to commitment in general. So he ends up getting a pep talk from one of his friends who is already a father. And he assures him that he's ready to take that step if he wants to. He assures him that he is not too selfish to show up for his family, as indicated in how he dropped everything to take care of his own sister when she was suffering from cancer. But Caden still has a lot of anxieties around whether or not he's too selfish for kids, whether or not he's too incompetent for kids. He has a lot of fear of accidentally killing the kid. This part was actually very funny for me, especially because this was a lot of the stuff that I said before I got my baby arrested. And now she's the most spoiled girl. But they do end up checking things out with the fertility doctor, who happens to be the gay Asian guy from Half and Half. Love him. He's the best part of this movie, honestly. And despite them going back and forth about whether or not they even want kids at all, for some reason, Bo takes this opportunity to ask whether or not they could have twins. Mind you, we've not seen him make any considerations that made him change his mind from his own apprehension of them having kids. So him going from, I don't know if we should have kids, to let's have twins is a bit of a shocker, both to the audience as well as to Caden. He's like, we don't even know if we want one, Bo. Before we can even acknowledge any of that, we have to get Bo's sperm tested to see if it's viable at all anyway. So during this drive back home, though, they end up having the discussion that Bo has obviously reached a conclusion that he would like to have the kid. Again, we see none of this thought process that he was having, but just one day he just isn't afraid anymore to have kids. But Caden is still quite skeptical. But after getting pep talks from several people, one including Bo, Caden wakes up in the middle of the night and decides suddenly that he's ready for a child. Twins even. Considering he was a twin, I guess he feels like that's the only just the natural thing to do. So Bo goes back to the fertility clinic. They gather his sample, and in order to ejaculate, he imagines himself having sex with Lily. And this begins our new consideration arc. Now that they've decided that they want to have kids, we need to have a new conflict. And the new conflict is bisexuality. They fight in demons, and it's bisexuality. Particularly consider they're in a relationship. Bo kind of just like pushes these thoughts of still being attracted to women, particularly missing Lily. He just kind of pushed them aside naturally as he considers monogamy the only choice for their relationship. But it would seem that Caden is more up in the air about whether or not he'd be open. He could see himself having sexual relationships with other people and it just be sex. Do they talk about this? Absolutely not. So imagine the big hoopla that takes place after he goes to his ex-girlfriend asking would she consider being their surrogate and end up sleeping together. Imagine my surprise. But yes, that was quite the twist. I did not see that coming. So pretty much immediately after arguably cheating on Bo, though they have not had this conversation about whether or not they want to be monogamous or whatever, I would argue is cheating. You knew that he assumed it was monogamous. But anyway, immediately after his ex, he tells Bo, he's like, well, we never said we were monogamous, so. And Bo is like, you the woman who we asked to be the birth mother of our babies, and you don't think that's a bad thing? And he's like, okay, probably not one of my best choices, but we haven't talked about this long term. I know you think about women, and so do I. And doesn't the thought of having sex with just one person for the rest of your life scare you? And Bo is like, no. And Caden is like, well, you're a better man than me.
You're a better man than me.
Clearly.
I don't know. I think it's very disingenuous to get away with cheating on a technicality. Like, well, we never said. Well, fuck off. So yes, now that we've decided that we want to have babies, we can't make that simple. We have to make that the new hurdle to our relationship and to the babies. She comes in, she apologizes. She says that she wants to be their surrogate now, which is not her method of apologizing, but just something completely independent. She really loved Lily, and she wants to do this for her memory. Also, she could really use the money. And she says that nothing will come of her and Caden anymore. It was, them having sex was simply the last spasms of nostalgia, she refers to them as. Just rest assured, me and Caden will never hook up again. But being that Caden had just had sex with her not long ago, Bo is obviously a bit apprehensive to say that he will want her to do it. So he's like, I'll think about it. Then, incredibly randomly, Bo ends up going to his ex-girlfriend's house, a girlfriend we've never heard of. Nothing. We haven't had her mentioned prior to this scene. It's very interesting.
You got anything you want to say?
Back in she goes. Essentially, he's like, what ended our relationship so that I can know what to look out for? What made you grow tired of me? Why didn't we work out? Type questions like that. And she's like, well, because we both got bored. I think we were too similar. We didn't challenge each other, make each other grow. But I was able to find someone to do that in my husband. And from what I understand, you found that with Lily and now her brother. But yeah, that's ultimately the reason we didn't. Kaden and Bo end up talking about the cheating, and Kaden is like, maybe I did it because I was scared, and Bo was like, well, I'm scared too. I just really wish that we could have had a conversation so that we can know what we can do sexually together to explore ways to keep things interesting and exciting with us together, so that Kaden isn't just bemoaning never having sex with anyone else. So their consideration leads them into the third asinine part of this debacle. They decide that they would like to consider a threesome with a woman. How did we get here? She said, I've seen enough. Kaden meets with his parent, which, considering he's now dating their dead daughter's widower, who is also his brother-in-law, who's also his sister's widow. Anyway, things are a bit complicated between them all, as you could imagine. And it gets even more complicated when Kaden is like, so we're considering having babies using Lily's eggs. And if things couldn't get even weirder, we introduce another strange subplot of who will carry the kids, because the mom now wants to be a surrogate. So now they can't decide whether or not the mom, who is older, or the ex who just Kaden, should be the surrogate to their kids. The mom in particular is competitive about the thought of carrying these kids, but Kaden wants his ex because he doesn't want his mom to carry it, and Bo is like, I don't want your ex to carry it, you just her, your mom should carry. So at this point we're at our 50 millionth conflict, and there's only 30 minutes left, and I'm like, this movie has so many arcs with no point, like nothing matters and yet everything does at the same time. And in the middle of this chaos where they don't know who's going to carry their child, whether or not they consider themselves a monogamous relationship, a committed relationship, suddenly, of all people, Kaden is like, should we get married? This is very accurate though. A lot of people will, in the midst of utter chaos, say, maybe we should just get married. And Bo reasonably is like, we haven't even figured out what our relationship will look like. We're not even sure whether or not you're cool with monogamy, because I know that's what I want. Which brings up the conversation of the threesome with a woman again. Bo has been doing some searching on Craigslist-esque things to find a woman who is interested in having sex with two men. They end up finding a woman who is very enthusiastic about it. Very enthusiastic. A little disconcertingly, just like, she's very like, let's go. Barely any warm up, barely any foreplay, just go straight to double penetration. And I'm like, baby, you ain't even greased up yet. Ends with incredibly uncomfortable looking sex and their sheets covered in crabs, and them realizing, maybe this isn't how we go about this. Bo is like, I just can't do this. I don't want to be in a throuple. And they're like, where does this leave us? Considering Kaden doesn't know if he wants more than just me. And Kaden's like, I want to believe I'd be faithful to you, but I honestly don't know. which as you can imagine is incredibly reassuring. But eventually the conversation gets settled, considering we only have like 20 minutes left, with Bo going like, Kaden, you can do whatever you want. Don't tell me about it. I don't need to know everything you do. Just don't come back with an STD or anyone pregnant. And if that works for them, if they like it, I love it. They go back to the fertility doctor, who has tested both the ex and the mom to see whether or not one is more like capable health-wise to carry the children, only to find out that they're both equally able to do so. And so they decide to just let each of them have a baby. They both get pregnant. They have a baby shower. I see another Mike wasn't involved in one of those presents.
Mom, are you okay? We were starting to worry.
Well, I wholeheartedly approve. I think you two are going to make amazing parents.
And where the meatballs at? They buy the baby a bunch of rainbow shit because they gay and everything.
He got your gay balloon because it's got all the colors because it's gay. Okay. And I got Skittles because it got a rainbow on them.
Well, bye, but you know what I mean. I just wanted to put that meme there. And the movie ends with them returning to the place that the last movie ended, which was also the place where this movie began and the last movie began. Cyclical. It's the place where Bo proposed to Lily. It's now been a year since the last time they were here. The twins are due soon, and Kaden decides to propose to Bo at the same place that Bo proposed to Lily, and he accepts. This movie is very weird. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. Not nearly as asinine as the first. Well, It was pretty cuckoo bananas, but not nearly as enraging as the first movie because, again, the whole movie was trying to gaslight me. This one just felt very convoluted and dumb. So with that said, I'm going to bid you adieu. Next week, we should have everything for the end of Love is Blind Season 5 that we can talk about. So be sure to subscribe and all that so you can see it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all my social media, Instagram and Twitter, or whatever it's called, both of which are KennieJD. People have been yelling at me because I keep forgetting to plug my music, so plug in it, listen to it. Thanks. It'll be linked down below, and I will see you guys next time. Can you say bye? Bye, motherfuckers. Okay. All right. You ain't got to be rude.